So, what do you think now? Dr. Saif and Nilufar, what's going on?
Well, I think it was really important, I think, topic. And I think, as you mentioned, Amir, it's quite confusing for a lot of people who are just, public, who have no
Mm-hmm.
medical background to really
Mm-hmm.
just follow the news and
Mm-hmm.
hear president comes and says, just relax and we need to let things be. And then governors say different things. And then scientific, authorities are saying other news, and people are fearful, and it's a combination of things right now, right? So
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
hearing all these different
Yeah,
information,
exactly.
and as you guys said, it makes people, I think, more nervous. It makes you more nervous when you
Exactly.
hear different news. You think, well, what is the, now you have to figure out what is the truth, and then all these conspiracy theories come into play, as I'm sure you guys are seeing them on social media, right? I'm not going to go through
Yeah,
them because it's just a whole bunch of them. But then you're kind of, I think your anxiety just goes up further because you're just trying to figure out what is the truth and how can I protect myself and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it is scary times, but I think I really agree with what the doctor was saying from New York, because he's absolutely correct. This is not, it has not gone away. This is still in the community. It's extremely contagious. It's easily transferable from one person to another. And we know that it stays on surfaces for a very long time. On metal, stays survives up to 3 days. Some studies have said 17 days.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
yeah, so it's quite, and on packages for about 24 to 48 hours, cardboard packages.
Hmm.
Um, and on hand for a few minutes. But if you're a carrier, you could be constantly having it. So that's why no shaking hands or hugging or anything like that for some time to come.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite scary times. I mean, this is not a normal. I mean, I that's why I kept asking about the SARS and H1N1, because they
Mm-hmm.
were
Mm-hmm.
short lived. But
Yeah.
he's right; it was not
Yeah,
as contagious, you know.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I'm quite concerned if people were to stay in, if everybody stayed in during those 4 weeks, 6 weeks, I think we would see less numbers. But unfortunately, a lot of people, as you guys saw in March break, a lot of people went to beaches. A lot of people took this very, you know, kind of, undermined it, kind of minimized it, and just ignored it. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of spiking, especially in New York, Florida.
Right.
And I do think heat plays a part. I'm hoping that this heat will minimize it, as the doctor agreed with it too. But as you guys can see, like for people, I think they shouldn't forget. I mean, I'm also like feel that way. When I saw the heat today, I was like, oh, I can just go out and just chill and walk. But I just soon, like, of course, reminded myself, hey, get back to your professional hat on and just remember this is a virus we're talking about. It's not
the
like
bad
we like
thing
it's a
is that
summer
it's not.
vacation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, go
just
ahead,
not like a
Miriam.
diet. Like sometimes when you have diet, you sometimes said it's okay. I just had a diet for a month now. It's my cheat day, and people getting tired and they think that it's okay to one day have a cheat day. But the corona doesn't care that you stay at
Yeah,
home
that
for
could
like
be.
almost a month and this is your cheat day.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's how I felt. And I reminded myself, said, no, the virus is there. It's such a tiny thing. We don't see it. It could be anywhere. Anybody could be having it. And unfortunately, the
Exactly.
issue with this is that, unlike other viruses, people cannot be, I mean, they could be like having no symptoms at all, asymptomatic, and they could be carrying the virus. So I know a lot of people
Yeah.
personally that were like they just had very minimal symptoms and they got tested and their test was positive.
Mm.
So, and these people were, they wouldn't have known they were sick, and they don't look sick, and that's
Wow.
the
Yeah.
issue. A lot of people don't know they're sick and they're out in the public, and until they don't get tested, they don't know they're sick, and therefore it's a big issue. I'm hoping there's a test. I don't know if you guys saw that. Mind you, China has made this test. I don't really trust China,
Right. Right.
as I'm sure many people right now
Right now.
don't. Yeah, well, most of the times, but the government, I'm not saying about the people, the government of China.
Yep.
So, in terms of it, they have a machine in Italy. I saw this special. I don't know if you guys saw this. They can actually detect, supposedly, if somebody has had the disease before, like has had coronavirus and has antibody now, or is currently has the disease, has the coronavirus, or has never had it. And
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the kit or the testing kit has not been validated yet. But if, one of these countries that are more reliable, if they can create such a machine, I think it would make our life much easier, because then you could easily, from saliva or a drop of blood, can detect if somebody is one of these 3 stages, because that makes it easier. If you're sick, then you right away go into your quarantine. If you had the antibody, you could be actually helpful towards others by giving your plasma to the very sick patients. And if you've never had it, then you have to take very strong precautions, right? But unfortunately, we don't have such a thing. I know that even the testings are very limited right now, right? So we're far behind what's going to happen. And vaccinations, even though it's a great news to have it, but it takes a long time to have safety of a vaccination. It takes years.
Yeah, and
so I mean, 18
to
months
understand the
is,
side effects. So
exactly.
when the new cure comes,
so you don't want to be the
there are
first
so many
one to
side
get the
effects.
vaccine, trust me.
Exactly.
When it comes out. So I think the doctor is right. We still have to continue to take this precautions. We still have to be quite vigilant and be, like aware what we're doing, and do the, physical distancing, not social, social distancing, physical. You could still be connected to your family and friends, and do maybe road trips to see people, like your families, if they've been in,
Yeah,
quarantines.
exactly.
I think flying is a concern.
Sit in your car
I
and
would not fly
go
for a
and
long
see.
time.
Yeah,
I tell you
and
guys.
yeah, lots of people,
Sightseeing.
they're celebrating birthday and everything from car to car, from this car, and hey, happy birthday.
Exactly. You could wave, wave party. You could have a wave
Yeah.
party, like drive from your friend's house if you really miss them. Like I'm missing a lot of my best friends, and I just spoke with her, and I said, I miss you. I gotta somehow find a way to see you. But you're right. I mean, drive by and do a drive-by wave, or something like that.
And we was talking about dating. Is good time to dating, online, and know each other. Seriously, know each other. And Nilüfer,
I guess
and
so.
Nilüfer said something. It was a new word for me. What was that? You said what?
Sexing.
Sexy.
Sexing.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, I'm a good guy.
Wow. I mean,
Well,
we
it
don't
doesn't
know
mean
about
that
this. Yeah.
good guys cannot sex.
No,
Cannot do sexing.
no, I didn't
Sexing
hear.
is for everybody.
I didn't hear this word.
Yeah. So I mean, it's different times, though.
So now,
For sure.
let's back to love, because we was talking about love.
Love it during the coronavirus
Good topic.
era.
Yeah, it's a good topic. Yeah, because in the morning, Dr. Sadiq, he continued that topic about love, because he wants to add some other things, and it was interesting. I heard, we play another video, and it's funny when you're asking people about love, they talking about heartbroken stories, like something like that, or when you're talking about the connection, they're talking about disconnection. How brain is works, like, Dr. Saif, what's going on in our brain?
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's the whole thing. The brain that we know it, obviously, works very differently. I mean, we have
Right.
different regions of the brain that, as I mentioned, produces different, neurotransmitters or endorphins that reacts to. It's like a biochemistry, so it's a chemical reaction per se. And if you actually produce certain hormones like dopamine or oxytocin, or the norepinephrine, the serotonin, all these good feelings, and the rush you get. So obviously at the beginning of the relationship, as I mentioned, you have more of these endorphins being produced, where it makes you feel excited. You don't feel like eating, you don't feel like sleeping. You're in that kind of honeymoon phase, as we call it.
Right.
And you're feeling all these good emotions, right? And then eventually, obviously, your brain has to balance out. You can't keep producing all these endorphins. So then really it's more the oxytocin that I talked about, the bonding hormone, which really remains for years when you're in love and bonded with your spouse or your significant other. So that's where, it's the thing. And then some people have this dopamine reaction, which is very strong, and they look for that. And that's where you hear the term this love addicts or sex addicts because they look for that initial rush, which is related to dopamine. It's very related to the addiction part of everything. I mean, everything you get addicted to, whether it's gambling, whether it's games, whether it's anything these days, even eating, things like that you get addicted to. There's a certain area of your brain that produces this hormone that we call dopamine, and that actually is related to addiction. So a lot of people actually end up thinking they're out of love because they start to loosen that sensation, right? And that's where we talked about maturity and art being, love being an art, because you have to be aware. It's like, that's why when they say it's a teenager or puppy love, you guys have heard this before, right? The puppy love terminology. It's because that's what they're talking about. It's like, they're in that infatuation stage. And unfortunately, a lot of people mistake that as what love is, but that's really, again, that's where the chemistry takes place, and it's part of that thing, and people chase that sometimes, especially younger adults or some people who are addicted to that feeling. They get addicted to that dopamine feeling because it makes them feel good, so they're not really into that person that they love. It's more about the feeling they get themselves when they're in that stage. So you see them actually chasing. So you hear these people, they say, oh, I'm in love for 6 months and I don't know what happens. I fall out of in love, and then I go on to another relationship, and then I find them, and I don't know what happens again. Another 3-4 months, I fall out of love. Maybe they're not the right person for me. I've had patients, and I'm sure you guys seen people like that.
Yeah.
So that's what they're talking about. They're not wrong.
Yeah.
They're just not understanding what's going on with them. They are talking about that initial phase, which they're totally overtaken by a person, and it's more internal.
Right.
It's the internal emotions or the reactions in their brain that they're experiencing, and they like that feeling, which we call the love addict or the sex addict. And that's what people start chasing after a while. And that's why you see a lot of people going from one relationship to another relationship. That's what it is. It's that initial, infatuation or stage where all these, biochemical reactions are taking place.
Right, exactly. So, Niloufar, we had this conversation, and we want to just open it again.
Continue.
So I'm enough or I'm good enough? Which one you agree?
I am enough or I am good enough? I am enough.
Okay.
I'm enough.
Okay, and the doctor
Because I
said.
don't really consider myself good.
Okay. No. I'm. You should say. Always. I said I'm enough and I'm good enough. And Dr. Saif, tell us what's the benefit of the belief to both of these words.
Well, I'm kind of confused. I'm not sure you're talking about love, like when people say
Love
I'm
yourself,
enough or I'm good
when
enough.
in a
Okay.
love and in that area when you're talking about the when we're talking about love myself, I should believe
Okay.
I'm enough and I am good enough.
So okay, I understand what you're saying now. So yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we touched on that a little bit last evening about this, that it's really important to love yourself before you decide to love somebody else, right?
Right.
And treat yourself well before you can actually do that for somebody else. And I do think that being enough, I think, is not good enough. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm
I
making
understand.
it a little bit complicated.
No. It's clear.
So-
It's totally
Okay.
clear.
Okay,
You said
great.
I'm
So-
enough is not good enough.
Not good
we should
enough,
say.
no.
Yeah, I should say I am good
What's
enough.
the difference,
Good enough.
really?
Yeah,
What's
that's
the
why I
difference?
opened.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. That's why I opened this subject.
Okay,
I don't
you
really
put us in this
understand the
little
difference,
pickle
really,
here
though.
and here.
Okay, just one more
It's like a
tip.
Twister
Coffee.
game,
you
guys.
need
Twister game.
no, because usually Niloufar is sleeping at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and she just woke up. Okay, one more coffee, please.
So you definitely
No,
don't
that's
have
tea.
children.
That's tea.
Nino, you don't have
No,
kids
I
yet,
don't.
I assume. Okay,
No,
that's
no,
why you can have that
I'm a
cycle.
kid,
Good
yeah.
for you. Okay, I'm a kid. We
Yeah.
all are kids within ourselves. But my
Now, I
daughter
have
doesn't
a
let me
tea,
sleep
and
in. So.
I told Amir that it's a tea that has a code. So I'm excited to drink tea because it has a code which is very positive. Like, for
Yeah,
example, right now my tea said, "Let your heart speak to others' heart." So, which is a very
Perfect.
nice thing. And
which is a nice thing.
every time, yeah, every time. What's the
Somebody's
heartbeat?
heart is going out. That's actually
It's
not
coming
very
from.
bad.
Yeah, it's coming here.
Yeah. So I always
And
drink
now
lots
she
of
just
tea,
she
and
just
that's kind of
she's just drinking tea because of the that tip. That's it.
it actually it's really good because I'm a person that constantly think about whatever people telling me. That's one of the problem that we had a conversation with Bonnie the other day, and she said that there are some people that calling you and they want to dump things on you, and I said that I don't want these negative people that they want to constantly talking about the problem to me, because I overthink sentences. Like when somebody telling me something during the day while I'm doing my own like routine, I constantly thinking about what a person said. And the good thing about this tea that it has like positive quotes that makes me think about it, instead of it's kind of like a habit for me. The addiction that you said is kind of an addiction to think about something good, because I couldn't solve this problem that I overthink about the sentences. So I kind of make it into the work that think about something that it's really worked for me during the day, to think about something positive.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
That
Very
sounds
good.
good.
It's a positive things. It's
Yeah.
very good. Dr. Saif, I
Yes.
knew you told me about your timing. Can you continue, or
Yes.
you want to?
What
Okay.
time is it right now, Amir?
Is it 6:45 Los
I
Angeles
have
time?
15 minutes. I have 15 minutes Los Angeles time to stay with you
Okay.
guys. In 15 minutes, I have to say adios
Ding
and
ding.
leave you guys
Ding
to
ding.
be.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
understand. I
I
understand.
appreciate
So,
you keeping the time.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, let's talk about living your life with intention.
Can we just go back to Nilu? I think we confused her.
Oh,
And I just
yeah.
want to make sure when I said, you know,
About the good enough?
yeah, the good enough. I know, I'm sure it's going to play in your
Yeah,
head
I
tomorrow,
don't
right?
understand that. Yeah.
And I don't want you to have negative thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And not to drink too much tea, and then you're going to blame us. So anyway, what
Yeah.
I'm going to say is the good enough, not being good enough, what I mean is that I think we have to be our best. So when you
Yes.
say you shouldn't be best for other people, this is what I mean to
Exactly.
be saying. And I want the audience to also be aware of what we're saying, that we're just not making fun of these things, which is important.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
we should be competing to other people's standards, or we shouldn't be meeting other
Yes.
people's standards, nor should we be competing with what others are saying, or competing with how others are presenting themselves. I think that's just a road that's never going to lead anywhere, and it's just going to have more anxiety, more frustration, and depression coming out of it. So I really think, though, saying to yourself, I'm enough, is not good enough for yourself, because you're not challenging yourself.
Okay.
You're not allowing yourself to grow. You're not allowing yourself to come out of your comfort zone in order to get to your optimal level, or the place where you need to be. Because I believe human beings, we're one of those creatures that God has created, that
Yeah.
we are always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So a human, I really think a true human is an evolved person. Okay, so we are all individuals and persons per se, but to be a human, you need to evolve. You need to work at it, and you need to achieve it.
Right.
So it's very different. So therefore, if you just give yourself that card, I'm enough, you allow yourself to slack off. Okay.
Okay.
So if you think
So
about
from
yourself as a
my
student of
perspective-
life, go ahead. Go ahead.
So
So if
from
you're a
my
student of life,
perspective,
yeah.
sorry, it has a delay. So from my perspective, when I'm saying good, when I'm saying enough, it said that it just from my own perspective, that's what I want it to be. Just because good and bad from society might be different from my vision. Like, for example, I'm going to give you example. Like in my in the country that I born and raised, women should cover their hair. So when they tell you you're a good girl, it means that you're a person who following the rule and the standards, which is different than what I think. So, for example, when I'm saying I'm a good girl, I don't mean that from my country standards or from my religion standards, I'm good. It's based on my own beliefs. And so for my beliefs, I don't put a level of good and bad because I don't know what is good and bad. That's what people teach me. And I kind of put it into my mind in my own logic and see if that makes sense for me. For me, I think I'm enough just because I think that from my perspective, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
But from the level that people label something it's good, label something it's bad, I don't label myself. When I'm saying like I don't use the word good, I don't use the word bad, just because I don't want to label myself. It's from my standards. I think I'm just fabulous. You know what I mean?
You
That
are
was my perspective. That's
you
why that I just said it's enough is enough. We don't have to label it as a good or bad. Maybe when you're bad, you're even better.
Yeah, but in it is a mindset, and you send a message to your brain and
I
your
understand
mind.
that, yeah.
That's why we need to say, "I am good enough." That's very important. Here, we need to say, "I am good enough." You cannot say if because you mentioned. I don't want to say bad or good, but I believe we need to say it. Okay, Dr. Saif Shibak, and we have her. Okay, go ahead, please. Can you hear me? Oopsie. Looks like he's disconnected. So, she's adjusting the camera. Maybe it's a battery because now people talking more on the phone. You're all the time. You have a different conference meeting, and it's all the time you're on the phone. That's why you need
Yeah.
to have a charger, and same time because you have iPhone. That's why you cannot have a charger and same time headphone. I'm making fun of iPhone. Don't worry about yourself. Don't get it personal.
Nobody get hurt. Don't worry.
Okay, good. I'm very happy about that. So we are waiting for Dr. Saif, and she's coming probably soon. Let's have a quick music. What do you think? Are you agree? Right?
Yeah.
Or no?
Go
Do you
ahead.
like?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
I need your permission.